The Great Calamity saw the Kingdom of Hyrule burn, its defences completely broken by the surprise attack of the Guardians. Thousands lost their lives at the hands of the corrupted machines, almost the entirety of the kingdom's knights and soldiers among them. 100 years later, after Link and Zelda destroyed Dark Beast Ganon, Hyrule begins to heal from the calamity, but the tragedy is not forgotten. At the sites where the calamity claimed the most lives, like Hyrule Castletown at the centre of the Guardian assault, Akkala Citadel where the soldiers made their last stand, and Fort Hateno where Link collapsed and Zelda's powers awakened, the princess has built memorials to the memory of the souls lost to the calamity. Throughout the entirety of the depths, Link will encounter small grave markers with the ghost of a soldier floating eerily above it. These are probably the souls claimed by the calamity, fallen warriors offering up their weapons to Link. Occasionally, he will encounter larger grave markers, with groups of spirit soldiers above them. These are, of course, directly below Zelda's memorial stones, at the sites of the calamity's most tragic battles. Link's quest to save the Zora from the sludge rain has him piecing together an ancient mystery. Together with Giotto, he deciphers a stone monument, which tells him to stand upon the land of the Skyfish. This Land of the Skyfish refers to Floating Scales Island, a chunk of old Zora stonework floating just northeast of their domain, surrounded by tiny, scale-like rocks. By sending a king's scale through a droplet shape created by the smaller rocks, Link can open up the path to the ancient Zora waterworks. But the Floating Scales Island is, in itself, a secret reference to an older Zelda game, Link's Awakening. This adventure sees Link wake the legendary Windfish, a giant flying whale, from the egg atop Koholint Island, just above the area known as Tal Tal Heights. Well, as a callback to this classic Game Boy game, Floating Scales Island, the Land of the Skyfish, is found almost directly above Tal Tal Peak. We never see the faces of the ancient sages of fire, water, lightning, and wind. They're covered by animal masks. A salamander for the Goron, an elephant for the Zora, a camel for the Gerudo, and a bird for the Rito. These, of course, resemble the four divine beasts: Varudania, a salamander, Varuta, an elephant, Varnaboris, a camel, and Varmedo, a bird. The sages' temples, too, are filled with these animal motifs, echoes of the divine beasts. The ancient sages and their temples predate the divine beasts by thousands of years, so the implication is that the ancient Sheikah were inspired by the Zonai when they prepared to face Calamity Ganon, to build war machines in honor of the sages who had helped to seal his mortal body. We can assume that these masks are even older than these sages, likely as old as the temples, relics of the golden age of the Zonai long before the founding of Hyrule. They might have been given as gifts to help unify Raru's kingdom, or they could each be relics handed down through each tribe since the time of the ancient Zonai. The masks were significant in Raru's time, even before the Imprisoning War. They appear on the Zonite Bow, an advanced weapon that makes use of Zonite technology. Interestingly, in the present day, Link can find 4 divine helms in each of the main regions, renamed Divine Beast masks from Breath of the Wild. Their descriptions note, however, that these were helms worn by warriors who protected their races in a time beyond memory. They're clearly not the same helmets worn in the distant past, as they're made from Sheikah technology and materials rather than Zonai, but there's definitely a connection. If Link wears a divine helm while the spirit of its corresponding sage is out, they'll wear the mask of their ancestor to match him, and their abilities will be more powerful. Minoru, the Sage of Spirits, doesn't have a divine helm to match. Or does she? Wearing the Zonite helm causes her construct to wear the same headdress as the helmet, as well as boosting her attack power. Silent princess flowers are used to represent the Princess of Hyrule. They are her favourite flower and can't be grown domestically. They only thrive out in the wild. And it seems that Zelda's distant ancestor, Queen Sonia, was also represented by a flower, the Sundelion. Sundelions are found growing primarily on the Sky Islands. As their name suggests, they soak up sunlight and can be used to heal from gloom. Sundelions are very similar to silent princesses. In fact, they're almost perfect inversions of one another. By the time of Link's adventure, Sundelions have grown on Sonia's gravestone in the Forgotten Temple, where Rauru mourned her death at the hands of Ganondorf. Perhaps, like how Sonia is a distant ancestor of Zelda, the Sundelion evolved over time until it became the Silent Princess. Atop Tuft Mountain in the southeast of Hyrule is Lover's Pond, a curious, heart-shaped body of water. In Breath of the Wild, it was explained that this place was a popular destination for travellers, as legend claimed that those who found the pond were sure to also find true love. It seems that between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Princess Zelda frequented the Lover's Pond. After Link rebuilds Lurelin Village, Numar can be found near a painting showing the pond, lit by the purple lights of fairies. He explains that, before the upheaval, Zelda often visited the village in disguise as a simple traveller, and every time she did so, she would visit Lover's Pond, but only in the evening. Numar isn't sure why. Well, visiting Lover's Pond in the evening explains why Zelda used to. At 5 PM, fairies appear above the surface of the water and dance in the evening air, just like Zelda's painting. Lover's Pond's depth counterpart is the Ancient Observation Deck, a decrepit Zonai ruin. The lake itself is reflected as this small, heart-shaped island, where we can find two Poes, a couple together even in death. The Lucky Clover Gazette quests have Link journey across the kingdom and visit every stable alongside Pen, a Rito journalist, where they quiz the locals on sightings of Princess Zelda since her disappearance. Pen is tipped off to these stories by his little birds, tiny creatures who he can often be seen listening to, who presumably listen to and gather information about rumours all across the kingdom. These stories always end up as some sort of misunderstanding or an ambush by the Yiga clan, and after getting to the bottom of 12 mysterious rumours, Pen informs Link that their job is done. Link is paid handsomely and unlocks the Froggy set, which allows him to climb in the rain, but Pen isn't happy at the end of the questline. He admits that Link did almost all of the work and commits himself to training and self-improvement. He tells Tracy that he wants to become someone his partner can rely on, and that the only way to improve himself was to travel to Washer's Bluff, which was once home to a famous bard. Cass, the Rito chronicler, was one of the most charismatic denizens of Breath of the Wild's ruined kingdom. He could be found all across Hyrule, singing songs passed down about nearby points of interest, legends often pointing to the location of shrines. His accordion music can be heard cutting through the sounds of the wilderness, signalling to Link that a puzzle and a friend is close by. In Breath of the Wild, Washer's Bluff was Cass's home away from Rito Village. Atop one of the large trees is a small wooden shack, where Cass's journal can be found. But in Tears of the Kingdom, Pen finds no sign of the famous bard here. His shack is abandoned, and the bluff is silent. Pen himself admits his disappointment. He thought that there would at least be a clue here, but that there is nothing. He tells Link that a famous bard once perfected his craft here and studied the songs of the land, and hopes that by spending some time here, he'll once again get in touch with his reporting instincts and get his talons on a massive new story. He assures Link that he'll soon be back in action as one half of a great team. Payne isn't the only bird that moves to Washer's Bluff after the Lucky Gazette questline. He can be seen talking to his little birds, who had tipped him off with the leads on the other stories around Hyrule. But this time, we never learn what the birds tell Payne. What information they have gathered for him, if any, is left unclear. Payne's questline feels oddly unfinished and underwhelming. He never begins work on his next story, never finds any clue to the location of Cass. And with the game's developers recently confirming that there aren't any current plans for downloadable content, this could just be how his story ends. Disappointed and alone. The geoglyphs are great symbols marked on Hyrule's surface, drawn in the distant past by people who discovered the dragon's tears that Zelda shed after swallowing her secret stone. While next to a geoglyph, a particular theme will play, and this theme has a different ending for each of the dragon's tears. If Link is at, say, the Master Sword geoglyph, the game will play this ending. While if he's at the Secret Stone geoglyph, the ending will be this instead. This seems strange, until we piece all of these ending tracks together and play them in order, creating a somber rendition of the game's main theme.